Hello and welcome to this video on motivational interviewing. In this video, we will focus on the principles of motivational interviewing. Our focus will be on understanding ambivalence, the role of empathy in motivational interviewing, and also the 4 key motivational interviewing principles, which are express empathy, develop discrepancy, rolling with resistance, and supporting self-efficacy. These principles are essential for effectively guiding individuals, as you can assume, through the process of change. Now let's get started. Again, motivational interviewing is a person-centered and goal-oriented method of communicating to help someone we're working with to elicit and strengthen the motivation they have within themselves toward positive and sustainable change. At its core, motivational interviewing is about facilitating conversations that help individuals find their own reasons for making changes in their behavior. This is important to know because we need to help individuals discover their own reasons for making changes, and the research shows that that leads to long-term and sustainable changes. I just can't emphasize that enough. The principles of motivational interviewing really provides a framework that guides these conversations to get there in a respectful, compassionate, and effective manner. Now, to truly understand the principles of motivational interviewing, we first need to address the concept of ambivalence. So, what is ambivalence? Ambivalence is a state of having mixed feelings or contradictory ideas about something or someone or a situation. It's really a natural part of the human experience, especially when it comes to making just changes in our own lives. On one hand, a person might recognize the benefit of change. On the other hand, they might be deeply attached to their current behavior, or they may fear the uncertainty that comes with change. You can start to see that, yes, this is probably very common, especially in a counselor role, meeting with people who have a mental health concern, or if you are career counseling even as an example, whatever it might be. Individuals feel ambivalence with what major do I choose, what career do I choose, etc. As an example, let's imagine a person who smokes cigarettes. They may understand the health risks and want to quit, but they also find smoking relaxing and worry about how they're going to be able to handle stress as they try to quit. This internal conflict is ambivalence. It is actually a normal and expected part of the change process, but it can also be a significant barrier. In motivational interviewing, the goal is to help individuals resolve this ambivalence by exploring both sides of their conflict and guiding them toward a decision that aligns with their intended values and overall goals. Okay, we do know the role of ambivalence now, but let's discuss the role of empathy in motivational interviewing and how empathy can help. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of other people. In the concept of motivational interviewing, empathy is not just about understanding another person's perspective, it's about communicating that understanding back to them in a way that fosters trust and openness. Empathy creates a safe space, so to speak, where individuals feel heard, respected, and understood. Empathy is crucial for helping them to explore their ambivalence and find their own motivation for change. Empathy in motivational interviewing is expressed through reflective listening, where the practitioner mirrors what the client is saying, capturing the essence of their thoughts and feelings. This helps clients to feel validated and encourages them to dive deeper into their own experiences and emotions. It's about being genuinely curious and non-judgmental about them. And it shows clients, or those who you work with, that their experiences matter and that you are their support and you can be there for their support on their journey. If you're familiar with Carl Rogers, you can see a lot of elements from his counseling techniques in motivational interviewing. Now with empathy, we have these foundational concepts in mind. These are things we want to employ with empathy. So let's get a bit deeper into these 4 principles of motivational interviewing. So we have express empathy, which we briefly talked about, developing discrepancy, rolling with resistance, and supporting self-efficacy. Now, each of these principles play a crucial role in guiding conversations that can lead to more meaningful and lasting changes. Again, the first principle is expressing empathy. As we discussed, empathy is about understanding and sharing the feelings of another. In motivational interviewing, expressing empathy involves actively listening to the client and reflecting back what they've said in a way that shows that you understand their perspective and understand how they are feeling. This can be achieved through using reflective listening strategies, affirmations, and summarizing, which we'll get into a bit more. But as an example, if a client says, "I know I should exercise more, but I just can't find the time," an empathetic response might be, "It sounds like you're feeling really overwhelmed with your schedule and finding it hard to exercise." This response shows you that you're listening and that you understand their struggle. Notice how you don't provide a lot of feedback yet, you don't try to resolve their problems or jump in and try to tell them what to do. You here are just trying to build rapport and trust. This is a great example of reflective listening. You see, empathy reduces resistance and defensiveness. Research has been done on this, which is noted in Miller and Rolnick's book. It makes clients more open to explore their ambivalence and consider change. Again, it's about creating a non-judgmental space where clients feel safe to express their true feelings and thoughts, and to feel comfortable enough to do so. Okay, now let's get into the second principle, the developing discrepancy principle. This involves helping clients to recognize that there is a gap between their current behavior and their goals or even their values. It's really about creating a sense of cognitive dissonance in their mind, which can help them and motivate them to change, because this kind of dissonance describes a bit of discomfort that is experienced by the individual who holds maybe two or more contradictory beliefs or values at the same time. To develop discrepancy, you may want to ask open questions that encourage the client you work with to reflect on how their current behavior actually conflicts with their goals or values. As an example, you may want to ask, "So how does smoking fit in with your goal of being healthy?" Or how does smoking fit into your goal of being a good model you expressed for your children? This type of question really helps clients to understand the discrepancy and disconnect between their current behavior and what they are seeking. This creates internal motivation to change, and we can leverage that. Now, it is important to really approach this principle carefully, though, because you do not want to create a sense of judgment or make the client feel as if you are criticizing him or her. The goal here is to really just help clients explore their own values and their motivations, but not for you to impose your own views upon them. Okay, now rolling with resistance. This is the third principle, and it is really a natural part of the change process if used effectively. Because when clients feel they might be wrong or judged or pressured to make the change, they can get a bit defensive. But instead of confronting resistance directly as a practitioner, motivational interviewing tells us just to roll with the client's resistance if they do get a bit defensive, or if they push back a bit. We can use it as an opportunity to further explore this client's perspective by rolling with the resistance we receive. By allowing resistance to happen naturally, we can adjust to the client and will almost always de-escalate their feelings, and we can get the therapeutic relationship back on track, which allows the client to more open up and continue to open up in dialogue. Now, when you do encounter resistance, it is important to respond in a way that really validates and acknowledges how the client is feeling. As an example, if a client may say, "I just don't think I can really quit drinking right now," you may want to respond to something like, "It sounds like you do have a lot of concerns about quitting, and you're really not sure if it's the right time for you." This response shows that you're listening and that you can respect their perspective, which can help reduce resistance and open up some space for further discovery and exploring. You see, rolling with resistance really involves using reflective listening and reframing to help those who you might be working with to feel heard and understood, rather than trying to advise so much for pushing them towards change or how to change. It's really about respecting an individual's autonomy and knowing that they can make their own choices, and that their own choices, when made, will be much more effective. And when they feel this, it will help reduce this resistance to change. Okay, now the fourth principle is to support self-efficacy. This refers to a person's belief in their own ability to succeed and their own ability to make a change. The supporting self-efficacy principle really involves helping clients to build their confidence in their ability to achieve and to reach their goals. You can really support their self-efficacy by highlighting the client's past successes, the resources they may have around them, which helps them succeed, or by mentioning their strengths and skills relevant to help them to succeed. You can support self-efficacy by saying something like, "You've shown a lot of determination in the past when you set your mind to something." And then I would bring up a specific example. Something like, "When you completed your degree while working full-time, that same determination can help you succeed in quitting smoking." We want to encourage clients to set small, achievable goals, which can also build self-efficacy. We want to celebrate their successes with them. Point them out no matter how small, because it reinforces their ability and their belief in their ability to change. It's about focusing on their strengths and capacities rather than on their weaknesses and shortcomings. Okay, let's look at this a bit more. To bring these principles to life, let's just consider a practical example. So imagine you're working with a client, maybe named Sarah again, who wants to lose weight but is really struggling to stick to a healthy eating plan. How could you maybe help Sarah using motivational interviewing principles in your conversation with her? Let's focus on expressing empathy. You might start by listening to Sarah's concerns and reflecting the feelings she has. She might say something like, "I just can't seem to stick to my diet and it really makes me feel like a failure." Here you can respond, "It does sound like you're feeling a bit frustrated or disappointed with yourself." And then you may say, "Sticking to a diet can really be challenging, can't it?" Then if we want to develop discrepancy, which again means to explore the gap between Sarah's current eating habits and her goal of losing weight, you might ask, "How does your current eating habits fit within your goal of losing weight and feeling healthier?" As you can see, this will help her recognize that there is a discrepancy there and that there is a gap, and she might realize the need for change and strengthen her need and her motivational value to change. You can even use decisional balance techniques, such as, what are the benefits and drawbacks of both options? This can really help Sarah to consider that the weight of her desire to change is greater than her current behavior. Okay, then we get into rolling with resistance. Let's take Sarah again and realize that as conversations evolve, there might be some resistance. Maybe Sarah may express, "I don't think I have the willpower." Now we can talk about rolling with resistance. Let's take Sarah again and realize that as the conversations evolve, there might be some resistance. Maybe Sarah may express a doubt that she has, or maybe she points out she feels she has a lack in ability to stick with a good diet. She might say something like, "I don't think I have the willpower." But you can respond to this by saying, "Well, it sounds like you're feeling unsure about your ability to make these changes. Let's talk about what might make it feel more achievable for you." As you can see, this approach validates her feelings and it doesn't discredit them, but it also doesn't push them to the side, and it starts to open up more of a discussion about different strategies that might be very effective. And then supporting self-efficacy again, this is where you would remind Sarah of her past successes and strengths. You might say something like, "Remember when you set a goal and walked 10,000 steps a day and you did it for a whole week?" Now this is where it can get really helpful. And you could say something like, "That shows a lot of determination and commitment. You have the ability to make changes in your eating habits too, it sounds like." Remember, most psychologists believe that, because of the research, that encouragement is better than praise, almost in every situation, with kids, with coaching, and with patients and clients. Now we had a good example there, and in this video, we learned about how to use empathy, develop discrepancy, rolling with resistance, and supporting self-efficacy. Remember, motivational interviewing is really a person-centered approach. It's goal-oriented, and it's an effective method to help elicit and strengthen one's intrinsic motivation to change. It is more about facilitating conversations that help individuals find their own reasons and for initiating a change with their own behavior. Now in the next video, we'll discuss another case study. See you then.